Alrighty, here comes our review for It Comes at Night.
It comes now. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Oh,
it's coming.
I thought you were going for a handshake.
It might be.
Oh,
Here it is.
ah, yes.
Oh, blimey.
Such a lonely day, and it's mine.
Yeah, this movie's really, really great.
Yeah. So, It Comes at Night is directed by Trey Edward Shults, and this is his This is his second film, and his first film is Keough, a fucking masterpiece of the 21st century. See that film, oh my god. I can't handle how good that film is. How good is it, Bailey?
I haven't seen it yet. But, you know, if someone recommends a movie like that, you know you need to see it. So I'm going to be checking that out as soon as I can.
But It Comes at Night is a fantastic film. It stars Joel Edgerton, Riley Keough, other people.
Carmen Najogo, that's it. And, these people listed here.
A terrific, terrific cast. And the film is it's kind of hard to describe, and I don't really want to give too much about it away, but I'm just going to say it's set in a post-apocalyptic world, and we follow Joel Edgerton's family until another family meet him.
Psychological horror drama, and I think that's where we want to start with this movie, because obviously critics love this movie. Critics really, really gave this a really good rap. And when audiences finally got access to it, they didn't, mostly across the board. And that seems to be because the film marketed itself more as a horror film. And we can say after seeing it, yeah, it's definitely not fully representative of what we see, but I don't really know how else they could have marketed it. It definitely gives the feeling that this movie evokes, but I think the thing is that most audiences were going into this movie expecting kind of your average kind of slasher horror film. A lot of jump scares, a lot of that kind of... It's an A24 film. That was never going to happen. But the problem then is that when you go into a movie like that and you get something new, that new thing you're getting definitely doesn't have, like, this is not a satisfying movie to watch. And that's why it's satisfying for us. That's why we've been able to be satisfied, because we understand that this movie is supposed to fill you with despair. It's supposed to be anticlimactic. It's supposed to kind of leave you with this feeling of bleak emptiness that hollows you out inside. And what's happened is most audiences have seen that and gone, what the fuck? That's not what I bought into. And that's the problem, is because those of us that can understand what this movie is going for, we understand how masterful it is. For everyone else, I just want to say sorry. I just want to say sorry, try again.
Oh, try again.
And if you are one of those people that really didn't like this film, please go back and try it again.
Oh, try again.
Because it is so goddamn worth it. And
take
why
it for what it is.
Because this film is just masterful on every single goddamn level.
I think it really is a horror movie. I think it really is the true definition of horror. It's not a slasher film. It's not some jump scare kind of freak fest. This movie is just imbued with this sense of dread and weight and bleakness and despair. And what real horror is this fear of the unknown, this fear of the dark.
And finding that horror within humanity. And when that happens, it's just... It's
horror
horrific.
Comes from in here.
It's horrific to watch because it's confronting, and that's when you usually feel so, like, off, because you're like, wow, like, is this it? But my god, does he nail it here. And how does he nail it? Well, in just about every single aspect of the film.
Every single section of this film builds towards this ending that he's really trying to deliver, this sense of absolute despair. The film really works with paranoia from the get-go. You've kind of got this virus that you don't know who's going to succumb to it at any time. This isn't a zombie movie. People just get sick and they die. And we don't really know what they're capable of in that state, because we only ever see one character sick in the opening of the film. And we don't really get to say, it just looks like people get sick and they start looking gross and then they die. So this film builds this real sense of paranoia. We know they need to wear these masks when they go outside. We know this is like an airborne virus. We don't know fully how people get sick. That's part of the brilliance of this movie, is that it doesn't give many answers. It gives the bare minimum of what is required to understand what is going on. I think people are like, I want to know, I think people are getting used to movies? I think people are getting used to stuff like The Walking Dead. or kind of these zombie games where the entire way the world functions is explained to you. It's like, oh, people came in, like this infection happened this way and this is how people get sick. You don't get any of that here. The world building comes from the way the characters are presented, how we can tell they're feeling. It builds the sense of the world. We don't need to know how the world works. We just need to understand how everyone in it has to survive and how they have to interact and how it makes them feel.
And I mean, we're talking so much about this world, but let's talk about the master builder himself, Trey Edward Shults, because this guy is just everything. Like, it is so inspiring to see a young filmmaker nail a film this well on his second time outing. Like, I still personally like Keough more, but this film is so goddamn good, and he's involved with every single aspect of the process. If you don't know, he also edits his own films as well, so he's there both pre-production, production, and post-production, so he knows exactly what he's getting, and he gets to make his final, you know, picture, essentially.
You can just feel that this film is a really distinct vision. There's no kind of shooting for coverage here. Every shot is purely done for that purpose. There's no extra stuff here. What I gotta say about what I love about his direction is he's someone who's really clear with his own kind of rules of filmmaking. I think a lot of people forget that when you're looking at these two types of camera movement, you've got zooms and you've got tracking, right? The zoom here is really effective as characters looking. We know if we see a zoom, that's eyes, right? That's how someone looking around. If you see tracking, you see that movement, that's someone walking, it's pulling you closer, it's kind of got this gravity to it. The way he uses those two elements to kind of build this sense of dread is just astounding.
Yeah, he just kind of knows how all technical aspects work as well, and he doesn't just stop there, not within the camera as well. Like, the aspect ratio changes, like, he'll move the crop bars in, essentially, when we go into, like, a dream sequence.
Or like a heightened state of reality, because it gets sketchy as the film goes on, whether what's a dream and what's not. But
exactly.
You just know it's building something else.
He manages just to use all aspects of a film to create the film, which is something that a lot of filmmakers kind of don't do as much these days.
They just rely on sound, or they rely on this composition,
or they rely on a cinematographer to come in and make everything look pretty.
Everything all at once, and it's just becomes an assault of cinema that never really feels in your face or over the top. It kind of just sits over you. It hangs over you. It washes over you, but it's never going bam bam and pummeling you in the face about it.
And one thing I was really intrigued going into this film is how he was going to work with actors, because in Keough he kind of just used family members. He didn't really even use actors, and he even acted in the film himself. So I was intrigued to see how he was going to work with, you know, full-time actors like Joe Edgerton and Riley Keough, especially here. And the biggest thing I found is he had them understand the story so well. So their characters were so well presented on screen. You got everything you needed to from them, and their performances were absolutely astounding because of that. It was just unbelievable.
And again, we got to hand it to the director with the way he handles the performances, because there really only is like 6 characters here that are focused on, and he's really good at putting us in their shoes at different times so we understand how they're experiencing things from certain angles. You really got to hand it to Joel Edgerton as well for really building this character who I think understands the world better than he lets on at the start. He understands the situation, and by the end of the film you really see it kind of leaching through into pretty much everyone that's left. And this film again really nails atmosphere, and I've got to hand it to, again, the cinematography here, who really nails nighttime lighting. Like, there's sometimes shots where there's literally just a single source lighting, it's just a lantern, it's just a torch on the end of a gun, and he just builds this really oppressive atmosphere that I haven't seen done that well in quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, talking about atmosphere as well, just the soundtrack of this film is absolutely splendid. Like, same person he worked with for Keough, I think Brian McComb is his name, and it's just, it's experimental, but it's heartbreaking, but it's haunting as well. It does everything it needs to elevate the film.
And after saying all of that at the start, this movie does still definitely have horror moments. There's moments where, I mean, I've seen it twice now, even on the second time of seeing it, there's times where I was like, oh god, like, there's genuinely moments of actual jump scare type fear, or that kind of sense of impeding dread that you get from a normal horror film. It's just the movie the whole way through is a very different type of horror. It's not really even psychological horror, it's just despair horror, and that's a really, really thrilling thing to watch, for us at least.
Yeah, for sure. And so if you do get the chance, do not miss It Comes at Night. Go in knowing that it's not the horror film that it supposedly markets, I suppose, but it is a fantastic horror film.
Definitely a great apocalyptic movie. It's one of those ones where if you can put your expectations at the door, you're gonna get something that's really kind of like, I don't know, if you walk out of this movie and you're feeling terrible, you're feeling like you didn't get what you wanted, you're feeling like it wasn't worth it in the end, That's how you're supposed to be feeling. Learn to appreciate that, because we were able to, and that's why we've enjoyed it so goddamn much.
And that's why we're going to give this one a 9.5 out of 10.
Yep. So that was our review of It Comes at Night. Have you seen it yet?
Did you like it?
Did you hate it?
Did you like this video?
Of course you did.
Crave more banter.
If so, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel right there.
And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, all at Breaking
I
Banter.
don't know where that went. That like drifted off.
That was a tweet.